Oh. ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः 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 सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् रामो राजमणिः सदा विजयते रामं रमेशं भजे रामेणाभिहता निशाचरचमू रामाय तस्मै नमः रामान्नास्ति परायणं परतरं रामस्य दासोऽस्म्यहम् रामे चित्तलयः सदा भवतु मे भो राम मामुद्धर समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम् हरि ओम. We are studying Tattva Bodha and welcome back after a long break, almost 2 weeks. We have been looking at the Adhikari, the qualified student who will be able to do this Tattva Viveka. That is what Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji said, that I will teach you how to inquire into the nature of truth. But who is the one who will be able to inquire and who will be able to benefit from this inquiry? So then he said, let me explain the qualifications needed for a student of Tattva Viveka, or in other words, student of Vedanta. So we were looking at Sadhana Chatushtaya, and we saw the different Sadhana Chatushtayas starting from Viveka, means ability to distinguish between what is permanent and impermanent. Having done that, the ability to let go of what is impermanent. That is called as Vairagya, what we otherwise saw as ability to not get colored by things. Right? Vigata ragasya bhavaha vairagyaha. Then we also looked into what is shamaha, ability to quieten down the mind before it starts erupting into a volcano. That ability is called shamaha. Then we saw what is damaha. Even if mind has lost control, based upon certain identities that we have taken up for ourselves, our interaction is not soured. Right? So that identity could be anything. It could be at home, the role of a parent. Or even one step above that is the role as a sadhaka. Right? I say that I am a sadhaka. I am a devotee of Bhagwan. And as that, I'll do certain roles as a parent, as an employee, father, mother, sister. And all those roles, I will make sure that this identity is not lost. Means as a devotee of Bhagwan, I will do that which pleases my Bhagwan. Even if there are some circumstances or situations that disturb my mind. So that is a wealth which we call as Damaha. Uparama, we saw, is the ability to put forth all our effort towards our goal and stay away from other things. that pie chart we had seen, where how much time are we actually putting towards our goal and how much of it just gets leaked out into other sources. Then we saw something for titiksha, where Bhagwan said, titiksha is that ability to bear all other pairs of opposites while we are moving towards our goal. So that was about titiksha, and now we are looking at shraddha. This is the one that we were at. I gave a quick summary of what we had seen before. But one thing we should remember is this is a wealth, right? It is why it is called as sampatti, a wealth that will stay with us no matter where we are, a wealth that will help us come out of situations, go through life with lot of strength. So that is the beauty of this Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti. And where should we go to earn this? Bhagwan says, don't go anywhere. Stay right where you are. I have placed people to train you in all these different inner values. You want titiksha? Here, I have kept one person who will keep reminding you of how to get more titiksha. So like this, that is the beauty of gaining this inner wealth, that we don't have to seek some new environment. It is only a matter of shifting our attention and trying to seek these things in and through whatever we are doing. Goswamiji has said a beautiful line in Ramcharitmanas where he says, Samiti Samiti Jala Bharahi Talava, Jimi Sadguna Sajjana Pahi Ava. Means nobody has become Adhikari of Vedanta overnight. Nobody has become a saint overnight. Just like a pond is filled drop by drop with the rain, he says even our heart, our personality should start accumulating these qualities drop by drop. Day by day, we should go back and see ourselves. What are the parameters? To what extent are these qualities showing in me? More for self-evaluation purpose, not to tell somebody. The direct litmus test of how much these qualities have come is how stress-free we are in our vyavahara. How accepting we are of people around us, and how we can be in this world without getting agitated too much. That is a real test, right? But for us to keep reflecting back, it is always good to keep looking at these qualities and try to accumulate them. So now we were seeing about Shraddha. So let us just chant it together. We had chanted it last time. Shraddha ki drushi Guru Vedanta Vakyadishu Vishwasaha. What is the nature of this Shraddha? He doesn't ask what is Shraddha. He says, what is the nature of this Shraddha that we are talking about? Everybody has something or the other that they have faith in. But the faith that Bhagwan Shankaracharya is referring to here is a very specific one. It is the faith in the words of Guru and Vedanta Vakya, means words of the scriptures. So this also we had seen last time. This is where we had stopped. That Shraddha, if you want to be very specific, it is that thought which beholds a thing to be true. And this thought is what will keep us going. Because when we begin our journey, we might not see that end result. But if that Shraddha is there, if this thought is there, that there is something which is possible in this way, based upon that Shraddha, we can keep going. We had seen that quote by Pujya Gurudev where he said, faith is to believe what you do not see. And the reward of that faith is that you see what you believed in. So Shraddha Puja Gurudev is referring to as faith over here. We don't have to get caught up in words too much over here. What it means is, if you already know a thing to be what it is, then you don't need Shraddha over there. For example, to know fire is hot, we don't say that you have to believe that fire is hot. Right? You know that fire is hot. We don't need another Shraddha to believe in fire is hot. But let us say something like an atom. In the beginning, I don't even know what an atom is. Scientists might be telling so many things about their structure, the way they look. So there in the beginning, I need to have Shraddha in that thing. And later on, when I walk that path, when I systematically learn that science, then I myself will come to realize that what I believed in is a true thing. In the same way, in our Vedantic journey, in our spiritual path also, in the beginning, we might not know what is the nature of truth, what is Brahman, whether such a thing exists or not, even that we might not know. But when some teacher has come in our life, Shastra has come in our life, they come and tell us that there is a thing called as unconditioned bliss. There is something which is not affected by sorrow, not affected by joys of this world. So that particular thing, before dismissing that, we should, it is said, have some faith. There was one Mahatma to whom one boy came and said, I don't believe in God. He said, wonderful, I really congratulate you. He said, why? Other people asked, why are you congratulating this boy? He said, that means you have already inquired into all possible ways and come to a conclusion of what is the nature of God. Right? Only then you are telling that I don't believe in God. So that is why I'm congratulating you for the vast inquiry that you have conducted. He was being sarcastic, just to remind that student that before you have dismissed existence of God, first inquire into what is the nature of God. If he is all pervading, does he pervade you or not? If he is of the nature of consciousness, can he be different from you or one with you? So even before we go there, at least start with this faith that there is something. That is why this particular quality is being emphasized. Now, why is Shraddha considered to be so important? This comes in Chandogya Upanishad, where the Rishi, Uddalaka Muni, is a very experimental teacher. The student, Shvetaketu, comes to him and asks, or rather he says to the teacher, teacher, you keep saying that this whole creation has emerged from Brahman. The substratum of this creation is Brahma. On the other hand, you say that this Brahman is very subtle. It is non-changing, unchanging. Consciousness is this Brahman. How can this gross world come from this subtle cause? Why is it that you are saying this world has consciousness as its substratum? Teacher doesn't answer directly. He says, bring a seed. I think it is Nyagrodha Phalam Anaya. Bring a seed. Now break it. No questions asked. The student breaks it. He said, break it again. Student breaks it again. He says, now in that split open seed, do you see that big banyan tree which is there? He says, no. But is it not from that same seed this banyan tree comes? If it was not there in that seed, how can it come out from something which it is not there? How can it come from something which doesn't have it now? So he says, don't rely too much on your sense perceptions. Right now, have Shraddha. Later on, I'll teach you more chapters. And then you yourself will come to have this conviction that consciousness alone is a substratum of this creation. That is why he says, Shraddhatsva Somya. Somya means, oh dear boy, have faith right now. Walk on this path with lot of Shraddha in your heart, that the goal that Upanishads have shown us is possible to achieve. Now, in particular, what does Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji say? He says, Guru Vedanta Vakyadishu Vishwasaha Shraddha. Means first is having faith in the words of Guru. So whoever is our Acharya in our Guru Parampara, or Puja Gurudev who has given us this teaching, and Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji, who has written so much of Bhashya and so much of commentary on this knowledge, having faith in their words. Now, what will happen with that is, even if I don't see the truth for me right now, I know that somebody else has seen it for them. And that much Shraddha is sufficient for me to keep walking on this path. Then gradually, they will bring us to a level to see what they are seeing right now. That is the power of having Shraddha in Guru's words. We had seen an example, right, last time about that Brahmacharini. Just Guruji's word to say that, you have so much Shraddha in you. Why do you have to fear giving a speech on stage? You go and give. So I might not have faith in myself, but I have faith in my teacher's words. That much is sufficient for me to go and accomplish my task. So even here, having that Shraddha in teacher gives lot of strength to walk further. One Mahatma used to say, in Hindi it looks very nice, he used to say, या तो आप जानो या तो फिर मानो. Either you know it or you believe in it. But purpose is not only to keep believing, that belief will blossom into knowing. Because no teacher of Vedanta will discourage inquiry. Along with Shraddha, they will say, I want you to inquire. I don't want you to understand you are Brahman because I am saying. That understanding should become our own conviction, right? Through that inquiry, it should become our conviction. So this is the beauty of having faith in words of teacher. The second one is having faith in the words of Vedanta. Vedanta means Shastra, Upanishads. Meaning we should come to a stage where if we have heard something in Bhagavad Gita, it should not be that, it is somebody saying it. It should become our vision of life. Right? So Bhagwan says, Na sato vidyate bhavaha, na bhavo vidyate sataha. I mean, there is only one thing which is sad vastu, and everything else is asat. So I might not have that conviction in that thing yet, but if Bhagwan has said it, then it has to be true. So that is the other part of Shraddha, which is having faith in words of Upanishads and words of Bhagavad Gita. And our mind should have at least the key pointers, from all these texts, so that it is able to guide us in our vyavahara. Means our thinking, our day-to-day life should be guided by words of Bhagwan. We need not remember all shlokas, all mantras and everything, but at least the key ones that are, giving us guidance on how to move forward. So that is the second portion about having faith in Shastra. First one was having faith in words of teacher, which will help me keep going even if I don't see that goal right now. And second is having faith in words of Shastra. Later on, if I get a doubt, because teacher won't be there with us all the time. But in Shastra, if you have developed Shraddha, then it is said, go back and check. Right? What is said by the teacher will be exactly same as what is said in Shastra. You can go back and check in Upanishads whenever we have doubts. Whenever we need more conviction. Right? That is a beauty. And Bhagwan says, amongst all the ingredients which are needed for moksha, Shraddha is that thing which will accomplish the goal for us. Other things are important, but the Shraddha is something which will take us to the end. So many things are there to discuss and dwell on it, but most important point is we should see those things relate or connect with us. As long as that happens, all discussion is helpful, all inquiry is helpful. After Shraddha comes the last six-fold qualification, which is called as Samadhanam. Samadhanam kim, Samadhanam kim, Chitta ekagrata, Chitta ekagrata, Samadhanam kim, Chitta ekagrata. Says, what is this Samadhanam? Samadhanam means single pointedness of the mind. In other words, ability to focus wherever we want for whatever duration of time. Okay, that is called as Samadhanam. And it is not something that we are unfamiliar with. Things that we love, things that we have a taste for, there we can focus for how much ever long we want. Right? Some of us might be having taste for music. So when you get into that, practice of abhyasa of music, you say there my mind becomes samahita. That is where the word comes, samadhanam. But when it comes to putting our mind in our own self, it is said that is what we have to practice. So here samadhanam is putting mind in atma, means dwelling about nature of atman for a long duration of time and whenever we want. That is another quality, of a sadhaka. But how do we get it? How do I get single pointedness of mind? So it is said we cannot get it like any other quality. Single pointedness of mind is the result of the previous 5 qualities that were discussed. Wherever we have developed ability to have shama, in that situation we have damaha, we have withdrawn ourselves from other things and we are able to focus just on that thing. Right? So uparama is there, titiksha is there. No, even if you take a worldly field of knowledge, that field of knowledge is not easy to begin with. A lot of titiksha is needed even there. And then finally having shraddha in that particular thing. So when all 5 of these things come together, the result of that 5 is samadhanam. Right? You take any art for that matter. If somebody is able to concentrate on just that art, right? If somebody is able to have samadhanam in music, that means they have first had shraddha in that thing. They started with that, saying that there is something called as, this music, and that is what I want. That will give me joy. So they started with that. And then there was a lot of titiksha which was needed. especially if it is a musical instrument, right? I know people who play sitar, their hand over here, it becomes fully swollen because of that thing that they put on the finger. So a lot of titiksha is needed. Uparama, amount of riyaz that they do, practice that they do. Dama, no matter how much the teacher scolds, they still study with that teacher with lot of shraddha. That is also one form of dama. Huh? Whatever art we are learning, there is a way in which the teaching is given. So being able to stay there, being able to go through that thing, that itself is all contributing towards samadhanam, single pointedness of mind. If it is some school like architecture or something, the teaching method is very different. The engineering way of teaching and architectural way of teaching is like poles apart. They want to break every single thought fixation, object fixation. And you might not be used to it, that way of teaching, but still staying there and not saying something back to the teacher, that itself is called as dhamma. And shama is quietening the mind in that situation. Result of all of that is samadhanam. Means on that chosen field, I'll be able to focus my mind. Example we took of music. But what is our main thing that we want to point out here? Dwelling on nature of Atman. If any time I feel that my mind is not settling on this truth, then we should just go back and revisit what else can I work on? What is it that I have to increase? So we have seen Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti. Okay, six-fold qualification. We saw some of it from our daily standpoint, regular things that we do, but we should always remember these qualities. Using it in the world outside is a byproduct. It will happen anyway. We don't have to worry too much. We have to get it first and then use it for Brahma Vidya. This leads us into the next quality, which is called as Mumukshutvam. Let us chant. Mumukshutvam kim, Mumukshutvam kim, Moksho me bhuyat iti ichha, Moksho me bhuyat iti ichha, Mumukshutvam kim, Moksho me bhuyat iti ichha. I hope we are not forgetting the first class of Tattva Bodha, where we did that whole inquiry starting from somebody who is trying to change paristhiti, somebody who is trying to change karma, vasanas, and finally the seeker is trying to seek what is a permanent source of happiness. That quest for permanent source of happiness is called as mumukshutvam. Means on our own we should come to this understanding after careful examination of this world that there is nothing which can satisfy me or give me joy permanently. And Vedanta has pointed us to that source of ignorance, because of which we have desires, because of which we end up doing karmas, because of which we have this physical body. And then we end up in so many situations that we are in. So somebody who has understood that ignorance is my fundamental cause of sorrow. Ignorance not about anything, but ignorance about my true nature. Ignorance about this fact that I am infinite of the nature of consciousness, that ignorance should start bothering us. Means we should start feeling that there is something higher to aspire for in life. Getting clear knowledge of my own true nature. If it was knowledge about something else, whether we know it or not, is not, end of the world. We ourselves see this, right? There are so many things in the world which we don't know. Like I might not have knowledge about quantum physics. Somebody else might not have knowledge about engineering. But because we don't have knowledge about that thing, we are still okay, right? Because we don't have knowledge, it is not that things have all come to an end for us. But imagine if we don't know what is our own true nature and we end up going to our next destination. It is said in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, such a person is called as Krupanaha, a miser. Miser in what sense? That he had a human body, he had access to Shastra, and he had access to a Guru Parampara also. All these three things to come together is very difficult. And after having gained this, not putting forth effort to know our own true nature, he said that person is Krupanaha. But somebody who has realized, this alone should be my goal, and other things will help me tie back into this main goal, it is that person is a mumukshu. And he has that sincere urge from his heart, moksho me bhuyat. Bhagwan, when will I get liberated? Or may I get liberated? So these questions come only when we start analyzing into life experiences and seeing the limitations of this world. Everybody goes through experiences, right? Different experience we go through. We go through joys, we go through sorrows also. But not everybody inquires. What is the inquiry? The same inquiry, what we did in the first session of Tattva Bodha, that why are joys and sorrows there in my life to begin with? That should lead us to karma. That should lead us to vasanas. That should lead us to ignorance. So that is this seeker who says that this ignorance is bothering me, and purpose of my life cannot only be something of this world again. Those of you who are attending Puja Guruji's talks on Shiva Aparada Kshamarpana Stotram, this is the whole, essence of that stotram. That Bhagwan, I ended up with this physical body because I did not remember you in my previous birth. And so many things have been happening over here. Now at least you put me on the right path. And this vision will be given to us only by a compassionate teacher. Now imagine somebody coming to us and telling us that, you should redefine your purpose of life. We won't like it. Right? We would say, why are you advising me? I know what is my purpose of life. But somebody like Shankaracharya ji, he wants our well-being. He is not bothered about whether people will like my, speech or not. He is only bothered about how we can progress further on our journey. If we are not aiming for moksha yet, at least we should have a good destination forward. So that person becomes a sadhaka, and Bhagwan doesn't hesitate to point out to us so many limitations of this world in stotrams like Bhaja Govindam. I sometimes wonder if our acharyas had not criticized, things of this world, we would never have thought about it in that way. Those of you who have studied Bhaja Govindam, just look back at all the shlokas which are there and see if anybody from this world will point out defects with that much clarity, like how Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji has done over there. This is why we should have Shraddha in them. If it was somebody who had another, motive or some other intention, that person would not say so many things. Because nobody would like that person, right? They would say, people will run away if you say that, worldly pleasures are like poison and so on. But they are very, very open. Okay, so that thing we should appreciate. But most importantly, we should come on the right path. Now, somebody might be a sadhaka. They might have some questions. We also have this. And Bhagwan answers those questions also. Now, somebody might say, I don't really feel the need for liberation yet. Everything is going fine. And you again and again keep saying that I should be a mumukshu, I should seek liberation. What should I do? And this is a sincere sadhaka. Huh? They are doing their work well, they're doing their duty well. But they are not able to connect with this term called as mukshutvam yet. So then their question becomes, I get it, but still in me, I don't feel that there is a need for liberation. I'm okay where I am. Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji, after describing about mumukshutvam in Viveka Chudamani, he says this shloka. Manda madhyama rupapi vairagyena shamadina prasadena guro seyam pravruddha suyate phalam. What it means is, if we don't feel the need for liberation yet, if it is manda, right? Our liberation, mumukshutvam is manda or madhyama, not very strong. All these categories of manda, madhyama and all, you should see in Guruji's commentary, huh? Not right now, later. Guruji has very nicely put all those categories. Manda, madhyama rupapi vairagyena shamadina means we should keep gathering other qualifications. Keep making our mind beautiful, keep working on our personality, keep doing our duties. But at the same time, we should seek Bhagwan's grace, grace of our Guru. He says, with the grace of our teacher, prasadena guruhu seyam pravruddha, means this mumukshutvam will come, it will grow more and more. But not only that, suyate phalam, it will also give us the result, what we are seeking. But what is our role right now? If you are not seeing that need, he says, just keep praying to Bhagwan, keep praying to Guru. Their grace will come and do the job for us. Mumukshutvam is not something which can be forced upon someone. Mumukshutvam is that which should be our own result of inquiry, the result of careful examination of this world. Another thing also, Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji says, right after that shloka, VC means Vivek Chudamani, okay, abridged version. Vairagyam cha mumukshutvam tivram yasyatu vidyate tasmin nevarthavantasyuhu phalavanta shamadayaha. If somebody asks, out of these 4 qualifications which you mentioned, what are the 2 most important ones? He says 2 most important ones are vairagya and mumukshutvam. Having dispassion, and second is having burning desire for liberation. If they are there, then he says all other qualifications become meaningful. Means having other qualifications, being able to distinguish very well, having a very sharp intellect, having lot of self-control, shama, dama, everything is there. But I don't want Brahman. I don't want to know myself. Then he says that journey will be slow journey. Journey will be there. We cannot dismiss the fact that this person won't go anywhere. But it will be a very slow journey. in between any exit that we get from that freeway, they will go out, stop there, and sometimes feel that is their destination. You say, no, that was just a rest stop. You have to come back on the main freeway and keep going. So these are very beautiful tips given by Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji for sadhana chatushtaya. So now the teacher says, this is all we had to say about sadhana chatushtaya. So the qualification topic concludes over here. Etat sadhana chatushtayam, etat sadhana chatushtayam, tatah tattva vivekasya adhikarinah bhavanti, tatah tattva vivekasya adhikarinah bhavanti. This is what is called as sadhana chatushtaya. After one has these qualifications, one becomes an adhikari, a fit student for studying Vedanta. Put it other way, when we have these qualifications, we will start feeling that Vedanta is working for me. We will start feeling I'm able to hold on to this knowledge more, but most importantly, I'm able to use this knowledge to face situations in my life. And before we have gained this knowledge, these same qualifications will help us gain this knowledge. Because we need qualifications even to sit and listen to Vedanta, listen without coloring with our own mind, our own likes and dislikes. That itself is another qualification. Now comes a beautiful portion where Bhagwan is going to point out what is this Tattva Viveka. And he's going to point out the nature of Atman, that Tattva, using a lot of other things which are different from Atman. So this Nyaya, this way of pointing out the truth is called as Shakha Chandra Nyaya. Means on the second day, okay, after Amavasya, the second day, the moon is very, very thin. You cannot even see that moon. Dvitiya ka chand, that is what they say. So if you have to point out that moon and you just show, here is the moon, people, sometimes they look here and there, where is this moon? So in the same way, in Vedantic teaching, just like that branch is used, lot of other pointers will be used. So Bhagwan will say that this truth is that which is different from this physical body, different from this subtle body, different from causal body. This truth is that which is different from all three states of experiences. Now I'm familiar with states of experiences, just like I'm familiar with that branch, but the point is to show me that Atman, which is a substratum of all these things. That is called as Shakha Chandra Nyaya, which is what Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji will use right now. So now he says, I will start inquiry into this truth. Tattva vivekah kaha, tattva vivekah kaha, atma satyam, tadanyat sarvam mithya iti, tadanyat sarvam mithya iti, tattva vivekah kaha, atma satyam, tadanyat sarvam mithya iti. Says, what is Tattva Viveka? So just now you spoke about Viveka, right? In Sadhana Chatushtaya. Again it has come. He says that was Viveka for a sadhaka. That was between Nitya and Anitya, permanent and impermanent. Now having done that, come to the next stage of real Viveka, which is called as Viveka between Satya and Mithya. That which is real and that which is an appearance. So what is that reality? It says Atma Satyam. Atman alone is that absolute reality, and everything else is called mithya. Everything else is an appearance in this consciousness. Now you say, oh, these were like heavy terms, you said so many things. So the teacher wants to make sure that we understand each and every word, not leaving anything ambiguous, not leaving it up to us to figure out what that word means. Because we have our own definition of Atma. That we say, Meri Atma ki awaaz aa rahi hai. We say, this voice is coming from my soul. We say, no, we are not talking about that Atma. So what is Atma? Bhagwan will describe. Very systematically, he will give pointers. What is meant by the word Anyat? What all thing is included in other? You said everything else is mithya. What do you mean by else? That also he will define. Now, what do we mean by mithya? That also Bhagwan will define. Once this vocabulary becomes very thorough, right? Then any text of Vedanta we study, we know precisely what they are talking about. That is the beauty of Tattva Bodha, and that is why we should go slowly, step by step, we should build our concepts. Wherever you feel you are getting lost, something was not clear, please write it down. We have study groups going on this topic and several other topics. So we can discuss it in those study groups and always ask in our Q&A. Okay. There is no point in rushing through this text and just finishing this text, because we are not here only to finish text, right? Or Swamiji used to say, don't even use that phrase, finishing text. You should say you have gone through a text, gradually let that text go through you. Right? So we'll take our time. Now we'll take a few more questions if there are. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. And if you get some time to reflect on it, then you can turn in your questions either to that Google form or even here, so we can take it up shortly. I have some questions from the last time from 2 weeks back. So let us see how many we can get through it. This is regarding Dhamma. Since response follows thought, isn't the mind also involved in controlling the action? In that case, isn't Shama necessary for Dhamma? It is technically true that our actions are determined by our mind. But we are familiar with something called as muscle memory, right? How did that muscle memory come? Because we have trained our personality to be in that way. Some people, when they just, something, when you sneeze also sometimes, they will take Bhagwan's name. It is not that mind is telling at that time that, okay, now we have sneezed, next you should say, Om Namo Narayanaya. No, it is muscle memory. Muscle memory meaning that personality of that person has been trained in that way. And this we are familiar with in our work also. If we are in certain positions, then we know that we are representing a bigger group. So that role will automatically or should put certain do's and don'ts on our behavior. Behavior means transaction, right, with the world outside. What technically we call as using our organs of action to interact with the world outside. So all those things, organs of action, including speech, hands, legs, everything. Like if you are going for a business meeting, the way we walk towards in that meeting will be very different from how we would casually walk. Now, it is not that mind is very, always telling us that you are in a business meeting, this is how you should be, and so on. It is because we have accepted that role, we know what comes with that role. So that is the main thing about Dhamma. Right? Even at home, if we say that I am a sadhaka and I am a parent, mother, father, and I have children who are looking up to me. Now that role should bring lot of do's and don'ts. Even if I want to say something, but if the child is there, then you will say, not right now. So giving ourselves that window of time to respond based upon roles that we have taken, that is called as Damaha. In a challenging situation, is it okay to withdraw from the situation so that we don't respond inappropriately until we really develop Dhamma? That thing is, okay for a sadhaka. If we know that we are weak in certain situations, staying away from those situations or not responding back during that situation, that is, advised for a sadhaka. But at the same time, there might be situations that we cannot come out of. Right? We have to stay there. So then it is said we will learn to swim only when we are in that water. We cannot say, I will practice Dhammaha somewhere outside and then I will come back and jump in this world. Say, no, if there are situations which I know is my weak point and I can avoid them, we should avoid. But there are certain situations that we cannot avoid. So there it is said, we should stay in. And more we do our regular sadhana, more our mind will want to do this practice of Dhammaha. One of the indicators of success of sadhana, one of the indicators of purity of mind is that right when we need this knowledge, that knowledge becomes available to us. Whatever that knowledge is. Over here it is importance of Dhamma, importance of our role as devotee of Bhagwan. That knowledge is very much there when our mind is quiet. But when we get into some argument or discussion with somebody, this knowledge is as though not available. So more we do our regular sadhana, more we develop that connection with Bhagwan, these roles that we have taken up, they become readily available to us. This knowledge also becomes readily available to us. Sometimes I feel that titiksha can work as a motivator if we take the prompters as it is and do not completely ignore them. For example, I feel cold. I do not settle in with this feeling that it's okay if it is feeling cold. I would rather build a new product and ensure that cold goes away. Am I thinking correctly? You should ask Shankaracharya, what does he think? So titiksha, if you want to understand it in a practical way, it is not telling us don't be, or it is not telling us to be inactive. Whatever is our duty, whatever is our role, that we should keep doing. But this much is true, no matter how hard you try to remove that cold, we cannot remove those pairs of opposites for good. Simple temperature we cannot adjust. Right? 5 people are there, and then you try to adjust the temperature. One person feels cold, another person feels hot, third person feels, I don't care. So these pairs of opposites cannot be our only purpose of life. Build a product, it is not said, we should not be creative, we should not be enthusiastic about life. But he says we should also have a goal which is beyond these pairs of opposites. That is what we call as titiksha. Right? Titiksha is more from a sadhana perspective. We should not put it with our day-to-day work. If it is, like if I'm working in an industry which requires me to devise some product to solve the problem of heating and cooling, that is not the meaning of titiksha over here. Right? Titiksha means while you are building that product, you will have to work with people. and people will have different opinions. Being able to bear those pairs of opposites, that is called as titiksha. Keeping what in mind? Keeping my goal in mind. That goal could be anything in a worldly sense, right? That goal could be building up this product, which was just mentioned. But for us adhyatmic seeker, that goal is Atma Vidya. Right? So that keeping that goal in front, forbearing through pairs of opposites. What distinguishes Shraddha from Andhashraddha? If both are believing without seeing, why does one lead to God realization and another lead to fanaticism? What I've understood from the difference between faith and blind faith is that Shraddha, what is being spoken about in Vedanta, is backed with inquiry. That is why we said today that no Shastra wants us to only have faith, even for something as simple as Karma Yoga. If we have this statement, right? Karma Yoga gives peace of mind. Karma Yoga gives a cheerful mind. Our Shastras say, don't just buy that statement because somebody is saying, in the beginning you have faith that Karma Yoga will give joy. Let us start with faith at that point. But gradually it should lead us to that when I do Karma Yoga myself, I bring Bhagwan in my life and I start getting joy in doing that action, then I see that result for myself. Right? I feel that I have the same productivity as before, the same kind of enthusiasm as before, but yet I'm not stressed out. So that should give us this conviction. So now when I say Karma Yoga works, it is not because Bhagwan is telling, I started at that point, but Bhagwan also wants us to apply that teaching and see the result for ourselves. So in the same way, when it comes to Brahma Vidya, it is that Brahman is not another thing which will become an object of our senses. That is why that example was there of the seed. That because you don't see it, doesn't mean it is not there. So you start with Shraddha, inquire systematically, and you see how that inquiry is so logical. Now, Drigdrishya Viveka, if somebody has studied, there is no verse in Drigdrishya Viveka which talks about Shraddha, because that is a end point of where this Shraddha has taken that seeker. Yes, given that much time to study the text, systematically thought about it. So Vidyaranyana Swamiji says, if you are seeing a phone, that itself proves you have eyes. So if you are seeing thoughts, that itself proves there is a seer who is different from thoughts. Now to come to this inquiry, I first need to start studying Vedanta. Right? I first need to have some faith. It has some merit to what he is telling us. So that is the portion of Shraddha. And Andhashraddha can be sometimes without this inquiry. Right? Blind faith, what we call, is that one. Recently, in Ramcharitmanas, this phrase Goswamiji said that in between there is Gangaji who is flowing, and on one side comes Sarayuji, another side comes Son river. And he says Gangaji in between is Bhakti Mata, means she is Shraddha, embodiment of that devotion. But he says she is not devotion by herself, she is along with Jnana and Vairagya. She is along with this path of inquiry and also dispassion. Right? Juga bicha bhagati devadhuni dhara sohati sahita subirati bichara. Means she is adorned with subirati, dispassion, and suvichara, clear inquiry. So that is the difference between Shraddha and Andhashraddha. So in Vedanta, we don't have to have Andhashraddha. We can start with it, but end goal is different. Okay, there are some more questions which I have noted down. But if there are others that come during your reflection or discussion, please to turn them in. And more questions will come when we actually try to see these things for ourselves. How can this value work for me? How can this particular quality find a place in me? When that thinking happens, a lot of questions come, right? Okay, so we'll pause here. More we'll see next time. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.